This is Metal Mike, and on this episode of the 80's Glam Metalcast, we talk to a pioneer from the Sunset Strip from Odin and Lostboys, Randy O. Randy talks about his most recent solo album, Coming Home, the decline of Western Civilization 2, and Axl Rose. Speaking of Axl Rose, stay tuned to after the interview with Randy, because we'll talk about my recent video, Glam Metal Beatdown, where I pit Axl against Vince Neil in the ring in a WWE-style match. And guess what? The video got me blocked by Vince. So, here's the interview with Randy. Check it out. Randy, welcome to the 80's Glam Metalcast. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me. How are you, my man?
Doing great.
All right.
So, hey, you did an album last year called Coming Home. Why don't you tell everybody about that one?
So basically, that was kind of a bucket list for me. I had been working on that record probably over like the past 15 years. And I started listening to some of the demos and some of the recordings over the years. And my wife, Rachel, just said, you know what, you need to complete that. So what I did is there's this drummer friend of mine, Roger Carter, he did the John 5 stuff. They record all of John 5 stuff at his studios, the Doghouse Studio over here in Woodland Hills. And I said, Roger, I pretty much have this bucket list. I want to record these songs that I have. He said, hey, how about you shoot me over some of the demos? Let me listen to it, and let's put something together. So basically, what had happened is then, he kind of got the demos. I kind of we did some arrangements and stuff, and then he's been really good friends with Matt Bassinet. I'm sure you know who he is. He pretty much has played with everybody. He was David Lee Roth. Mm-hmm. Right now he's on tour with Elton John. Just a killer cat. He got Toshi. He's like the band leader of the Jimmy Kimmel Show on guitar. Will Hollis from the Eagles on keyboard. And I don't know who I'm missing out. But anyway, so we all just kind of went in. Toshi kind of wrote the music out. It's pretty simple, stuff. And then we just went in and started recording the record. And probably out of about 30, different, demos that I had, we picked those. Actually, there was 10 songs, and then we just ended up putting on the 9 songs. That's kind of how that all went down. And then that's kind of how that all happened. So I dug it. It's totally different than, probably the stuff that I've done in the past. I had like, there was a couple of Lost Boys songs on there, Same Old Day and Lonely Man that I kind of redid a little bit and did them the way that I kind of originally always wanted them, because on the Lost Boys record there was just a lot of stuff that kind of went down that I wasn't really happy with the production and the just kind of how that all happened. So basically, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I did, and I'm happy with it. I dig the way that it all sounds, and you got to do it because you love to do it. I'm obviously not out there doing it to try to become some, rock star or, make $1 million. I did it because I love to do it. It's just something that I needed to complete in my life. So kind of that's kind of what that was all about. And I gotta work with my wife. We gotta write some songs together, and, it was just a good thing. Well, my cousin Jerry, I don't know if you know my cousin Jerry from Warrant.
Oh, yeah.
So he's the bass player from Warrant. So Down Boys Records, they're the ones that, released it. And, he kind of, he helped me through all of it. And like one of the cool things about it now is like, I made CDs, and he was telling me, there's no reason to even make a CD. And I'm like, well, that's, I understand what you're saying. He goes, they don't even have CDs in cars anymore. And I just said, well, I want to go through the process to know what it's like from, the beginning to the end. And also, my daughter's an artist. I wanted to make, a record cover, and I just kind of wanted to do the whole process, one last time, and, So yeah, that's kind of where that's at. But so back to my cousin Jerry. Jerry, what he does now too. I don't know if you've talked to him. He has a publishing company, and for the last 8 years, him and Eric, they kind of done a lot of like reality TV. Kind of, I guess it would be lower end, on the scale, but they've helped out a lot of people that I know, and they've got like 70,000, I think, songs on their like library that they kind of have put together. And so now he's just signed like a big publishing deal with like the CBS, NBC, ABC, all, what I mean? So, what you hope for now, at least with me, is I hope for maybe I get a little, my music maybe in a TV show or maybe in a feature film, and then maybe you make a few bucks that way,
Sure.
So that's just kind of where that's at.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to it. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a little bit more laid back than what we're used to from you, but it all fits. I could still hear that sound of your voice, and I mean, it's really cool. I thought the lyrics are very reflective, and sometimes they're kind of funny, like the one song about your daughter there. That's funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a cool album.
Yeah. So I did it. I got it done, and I mean, I'm working on new music now, and it's what I love to do. It's in my soul, it's part of me, and without it, I don't feel complete. So I'm glad that I was able to get that done and just kind of feel like, hey, I finally, finished it and completed it. Some people love it, some people don't, but whatever. I did it for me, and if there's the few fans out there that dig me, they love it, and they're glad that they can, listen to what I have to say, So it's cool.
You kind of touched on something that I was going to ask you, is that you kind of feel like that is, when you're a musician, I mean, isn't it really kind of hard to turn off the music? Because it's probably always still, even though you haven't done an album in a long time, there's got to be songs just popping up in your head randomly. Is that kind of how this came about?
Those were just songs over the last 15 years. Like I said, I probably had like 30 demos, and some of them probably were some of the stuff that maybe the metalers would have probably dug more, but I was just like, kind of too, like it was right around the time Tom Petty died, and like I've been listening to a lot of Tom Petty and like Tommy Bolin and kind of stuff like that. But yeah, as far as the question goes, I cannot get music out of my soul. It's like every day, or most every day, there's some thought going through my head of a lyric or a melody. Or, sometimes I act on it, sometimes I don't, but it's just, I mean, I'm a singer. I consider myself kind of a singer, not a great singer, but more of a songwriter and not really a great guitar player. I'm kind of more of a rhythm guitar player. So as far as a musician, I'm a musician, but I'm not like the greatest musician or the greatest singer, but I just kind of feel like, it's definitely in me, and I can't let go of it. But I mean, I'm not 25 years old, and who wants to see some 56-year-old man get up there and, and play, unless you're, somebody that's maybe been established in the past. Not too many people,
Right.
So, I mean, but it's what it is, and it's all good. I love my life. I couldn't be any happier, and it's all good. It's hard. It's not easy to make a record, unless you've done it. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a lot of work, and, there's a lot that goes into it, from the beginning till the end. So unless you've done it, you don't know. And there'll be people, all these haters out there, but it's like they don't know what's happening or what goes into it, and all the work that it takes. So.
Well, you touched on your voice, man. I think you got a killer voice, and it's an interesting voice, and I think that's a lot of times what people would rather gravitate to than, let's say, there's somebody like Jeff Tate, who's technically this incredible singer, but a lot of times I like somebody that's just got a little bit of character. You know what I mean? They don't have to be the greatest, when it comes to virtuoso singer, but I like people with some balls, some character in their voice.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Although I love Jeff Tate.
Oh, I do too.
Pretty awesome, But I also love David Lee Roth.
Right. Yeah.
So I still love David Lee Roth. I went and saw him at the Hollywood Bowl. he's still going to always be David Lee Roth. You know, I love him.
Speaking of
great
David Lee, so who are some of the guys that made Randy O? Who are your influences?
Well, okay, so who are my influences? So, I mean, you know, early on, wouldn't want to say that they made me, but I mean, my parents were listening to like Leon Russell, Cat Stevens, you know, Simon and Garfunkel, Carole King, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, Led Zeppelin, and more so the Stones. But then as the person that actually made me get into music when I was probably about 16 years old, I was working for my grandpa, and he had like box seats at the Forum, and an older guy was like, he was probably 18. He said, "Hey man, his dad was like the vice president. He said, "Hey, I got some tickets to the Forum to see this band Van Halen, you know, and there's 2 seats and they're the box seats." I had no idea about what a box seat was, or really even what a concert was. And so we went there, you know, got the program. I'm kind of looking at the program going, fuck, man, this guy looks cool. Who is this? You know, and they hadn't come on yet. Oh, looking at Eddie. And I had heard, I think, I want to say it was like Jamie's Crying they were playing on the radio, or maybe it was Running with the Devil, I think. It was the first single. So I kind of heard that and I liked it. Well, then when David Lee Roth came on, I really had no idea what girls were, or, you know, none of that. When I saw him, and what I saw happen in front of me, I just went, fuck, man. That feeling of your body just pulsating, and, oh, look at women, and, you know, the feeling that you get for that, and just what he made me do, I just went, I want to do that. I want to be him. That's
right.
What I want to do. And then I totally wasn't like right away singing. You know, I kind of was playing drums and taking drum lessons, and then I kind of made the switch. And then I was in this band. I started off in this band called Hyde. And then I went from Mary Poppins to Hyde, which, and then I went into Odin. And then I auditioned for Odin, which was kind of a long story. I never thought I was going to get it. My brother kind of turned me on to Odin. They were playing down in Pasadena, and my brother, who was in Lostboys with me, he brought me down to some show down there, and I was just like, God, they're fucking so incredible. And they were just, you know, 15, 16-year-old kids just pretty much shredding the way they did, you know, on all the records. They were amazing. And basically their singer left, and they were looking for a singer, and I was working at this place called Builders Emporium. I went down and auditioned, and I knew that they didn't dislike me, but I could just tell that they weren't totally into me. So like maybe for, I want to say, a couple of weeks, they were still looking, and there was this other singer in my area that I knew they wanted him in the band, because I could just hear, you know, I heard through the grapevine, and he was more of a cover guy. And they weren't able to get him, and I would have people from my work call them, you know, every day. Hey, you know, just ask if, you know, hey, are you looking for a singer? And they'd say, yeah, you know, you want to come out and audition? And they'd bullshit them. And eventually, Brad Parker, the guy who was one of the lead guitar players besides Jeff, he called me up and he said, hey man, you got a PA, right? I go, yep, I got a PA. He goes, I'm going to come up and get you, and we're going to go down to the studio and we're going to start practicing. And that was it. I never left. And they worked with me and helped me with my voice, and, you know, and you know, their songs weren't anything, you know, like, they were a lot different. And then once I joined, you know, it kind of changed them into our sound, which was Odin, you know. So hope I'm making sense to you.
Definitely, man. So obviously, okay. we'll get into it. So Odin got notoriety from being in decline of Western civilization, and I've read interviews with you. You've talked about this stuff a million times. But I guess my only question, and then I have a couple comments too. But I guess my question is, when you watch that today, what goes through your mind when you watch that whole movie, or even the section you're in?
Well, I mean, I you know, so you once again, there's a ton of haters. There's people that absolutely, they said that movie changed their life. You know, that came here because they saw me in that hot tub. And then there's people that said they wish I would have fucking killed myself. So it's like, you know, so for one, I work in the motion picture industry. We're putting on a show where we're being filmed. You know, we knew that.
Yep.
But also there was a lot of truth to it. I mean, like people will say, you know, you want to be as big as Robert Lee Plant or Jim Morrison. Well, of course I want to be. Why wouldn't you want to be as big as them? If you're a singer, don't you want to be as the biggest fucking rock star out there? I mean, that was my mindset. Now, was I as good as them? No, not even close, right? But why not want to, you know, be like them? I'm sure that these, you know, Major League Baseball players or football players, you know, my son's a Division I football player. You know, he wants to be like Gronkowski, the Patriots someday. He's a tight end, right? You have these people that you look up to and you strive to be like them. So, like, looking back at it, I have no regrets. In the beginning, I was kind of embarrassed a little bit, but it's just what it was. Now I look back at it, I'm part of history. That movie is going to be around forever, and there's kids now, young kids that you know, they trip on it. You know, right. They wish they could be part of that. I mean, we were part of an era that obviously nobody will ever be part of. That was like the last of rock stars as far as I'm concerned. Right. And I don't know how old you are, if you were around that, but I mean, it was the most amazing time that I could ever remember as far as music, musicians, people practicing and playing and wanting to, you know, out there just working and going for it, you know, as far as the girls, there's no scene like that. I don't think there is anywhere in the world or has been since, you know, I don't know. You probably know better than me, but it was, you know, it's pretty amazing. So, you know, back to the decline, I have no regrets. It's, you know, it's what it is, and it's part of history, right?
Right.
You know? That movie's part of history.
I'm 43. So
okay.
So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I watched it, you know, when it came out. That's when I got into music, you know, mid 80s. So mm-hmm. I hadn't seen it in a long time. So I interviewed Nader DePriest, and
all right.
I went back and I watched it, and I was like, whoa. Like, this is not what I thought it was, because when I was a kid, I thought, oh, this movie's so cool, you know, Odin and London and Gene Simmons, you know, the whole gamut of them. And then when I rewatched it, and I was like, man, this whole thing is like trying to put like a negative spin on it, try to make people look totally ridiculous, right? And yeah, it's crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember going to the premiere and people felt sorry for me, you know. And you're exactly right. She edited it that way. She was making a movie to, you know, that looks like the little part she puts in, like Jeff running across stage, he trips, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's like one part of the, you know, 20 hours that we filmed, that, you know what I mean? And she just found all that stuff. It's like the assless pants. Like, those weren't even my assless pants. I lived with Chris Holmes. So Chris, you know, Chris does his part, right? I think a couple days before me,
right.
He'd been, you know, smoking coke and partying, and he came home and he's like, "Fuck, man!" He's like, "I got to go do this filming." He goes, "Hey, do me a favor, get those vodka bottles and fill them up with water." I put the water in those vodka bottles. That was not vodka,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I filled them up. I know exactly where I did it and what apartment we lived in, and then a few days later, he said, "I want you to wear my buttless pants." You know, he goes, "I want you to wear these." But he goes, "No, I want you to wear these, but you can't wear any pants underneath them." You know, because that's how he used to wear it at the Troubadour. He would wear them like that. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Because it's gonna make you a legend, dude. I fucking dare you to do it. I go, "Fuck it, I'll wear them, Chris." You know, and that's why I wore them in that show. I never wore those fucking pants before ever, and if I did, I'd have spandex on them or you know, whatever. So, I mean, when I came out with those two, they were like, "What? What are you doing, Ray?" I go, "Fuck it, I'm going to wear them. Fuck it. You know, we're doing a movie." I don't know if I could cuss on your podcast.
Oh, you can. Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny that you talk about the trip, because the thing that caught my eye when I watched it previously, you know, to interview Nader, is there's a part where I think they're trying to set the Russian flag on fire or something like that, and he can't get it lit. So I'm thinking to myself, well, this is shit you would cut out. You know what I mean? You wouldn't play this unless you were trying to make it look kind of silly or goofy or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that's part of history. Period. Good or bad, it's definitely there, and you know, I still make money on that movie. You know,
that's awesome.
not a lot, but when like they re-released it, I got money every year. I get checks, so they're little, but if that's 35 years ago. I'm still getting checks for it. So
I think also you probably can relate to this, having kids, and I have kids, and when I think about like these kids going, teenagers going out to LA to live and become a rocker, and they're doing all these drugs and all this stuff. And I don't know about you, man, but I'd kill my kid before I'd let him go out and do something like that. You know what I mean? I would.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have no, I mean, my parents were pretty, for one, both my dads left, I had a stepdad, they left, and then I was with my mom, and my mom had 4 boys, so, we just, I think by the time I was 17, I was on my own, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's different now. Back then, people were going for it,
right?
And laying it on the line. I mean, I remember being in a room, probably 10 by 12, with 4 guys, or like for Lost Boys after Odin, really with not a dime in my pocket, running a studio, going, I'm going to be a fucking rock star. I'm getting a record deal. I'm going to do this. And all I did for almost a year was write those songs, live in that studio, and work. And you know what? Look I got that record deal. So I don't know. I don't think kids today, they're not out there going for it. I mean, there's no scene. I mean, even my son now. I mean, he plays piano and he sings here and there, but he went and played for 15 minutes before I came up here. We would play for fucking 15 hours.
Right.
Like he's a different band. I mean, we would go and play a set and have people come in our garage and then, rest for a few minutes or an hour, and we'd do another set, and then we'd have new people come over and party, and then, that never stopped. So I think it's just different. There's too many distractions, and I wish there'd be more, more kids, and there would be more of a music scene for them, but I don't know. I just think there's too many distractions for, I guess. I don't know what's happening with the music industry, but it's definitely not really happening that I can see.
I read an article a while back, or maybe it was an interview with you, or somebody I don't even know where it came from, but somebody was saying how, Axl Rose took his whole shtick from you. And I guess I never really noticed it at the time, but then when I went back and watched it, I watched him, and watched you in those early days, and I was like, wow, he really did kind of, borrow a lot from you. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, if I say anything about it, then people just think I'm, got issues. But I mean, the bottom line is you could look when Odin was here and look when they came. We were around with we were doing it when the Motley and the Rat and the first wave came, Quiet Riot, Great White, and then there was a second wave when we were there before anybody came. And he was at our shows, and we were managed by the same lady, Vicki Hamilton. Now, as far as singing goes, and of course, I'm not as good as him. You know what I mean? He obviously is a multi-zillionaire, and you know what I mean? But yeah, did he watch me and do my things? But you know what? It's like, who did I get my shtick from? I used to go watch Richard Black from Shark Island and David Lee Roth, and so it's like we were all ripping off each other. But I mean, I definitely had my trip. I remember seeing Axl at Gazzari's before their record was released. He was at more than one of our shows, needless to say, but right when that record came, and he came up, to talk to me, and I didn't give him the fucking time of day. I came up to him, I'm like, hey, what's up, William? I'm 6'3", he's 5'9" or whatever, and that it just kind of shut it off. I was pretty much like, fuck you, dude. I had a chip on my shoulder, and I, looking back, I wish I wasn't that way to a lot of people, but I thought, hey, I'm on a one track, I'm going down this path, and stay out of my way. Now looking back, I've probably pissed a lot of people off, and probably a lot of people thought I was, a dick, an asshole, or whatever. But I was just doing my own trip, and then plus you see all these bands, like we were there on that first wave, and you see these bands like, Poison, and even my cousin's band Warrant, and, I could keep, and they're all getting record deals, and I'm seeing them on MTV, and I'm like wondering, like, well, what the fuck am I doing wrong? I mean, we're packing these places out, we're doing multiple nights, why not us, you know? And that, I mean, that's one reason why I left Odin, because of Vicky. Like Vicky was saying, you know, you're not going to make it in that band. You know, you're a star. You need to start a new band, and, you know, I'll get you a record deal and you're going to be a star, you know? So, I mean, anyways, I don't know, I'm kind of getting sidetracked, but, you know, there's another thing too, is just like, so like my cousin Jerry, like he'll straight out tell you, if it wasn't for you, Randy, I would never have done what I'm doing, you know? And like, I'm friends with Jeremy. I don't know if you know the band Lit.
No.
They're kind of they were a very successful kind of like 90s band.
Okay.
But I mean, he's come to my shows and played with us, and he'll straight out say, without you, you know, without you, Lit would never exist. We you know, we loved Odin, but we idolized you. You know, his brother, we just idolized you. And I've had, you know, in the last year, I've had him, he text messages me like he's almost in tears, like just saying, this fucking record, this Lost Boys record, I ripped these riffs off from my record, and you know, like, you know, I'm like, hey, that's cool, you know, I mean, because I know there's simple riffs and stuff, but it's just like, you know, he's just basically telling me I wouldn't be what I am today without you. And if you were to talk to him, he would tell you that, you know, and it's very sincere. And so, I mean, I know there's a lot of people, because we were around in the beginning, that were influenced by us, and, you know, it's just what it is. And then in the end, I have no regrets, because I also feel that if I were to ever have made it like Guns N' Roses, I don't think I'd be alive today. I don't think I could have handled it, because I'm such a homebody. I get homesick very easily, even when we would go on the road as little as we did with Odin, 30 days here, 15 days here. I was always homesick, you know. So that's that story, you know. So I think it all worked out just how it was supposed to work out.
Why do you think that Odin didn't make it in one of those waves? Because, like you said, you did see all these guys. Was it something to do with management? Just didn't get that lucky break? What was it?
Well, this is what I think. So in the beginning, like Lars and James and like we'd go to San Francisco. We were a different band. If you listen to our early demos, we were I don't want to say we were a Metallica, but we were like a early Black Sabbath, kind of a progressive band, you know, even kind of like an Ozzy sounding vocals with, you know, some heaviness, maybe a little bit of screaming, but that's where we should have stuck.
Yeah.
That's how we built our fan base. And then what had happened, like, you know, I mean, Lars would come down and visit us, and then basically that first wave went through, and then this, like, the spandex and, like, the glam, and we started, like, kind of crossing over, like, dressing like that, thinking, well, this will help us. We'll look like Rat, or we'll look more fashionable, and now we'll try to write more of a commercial song. And we started kind of like, you know, we just started changing, and this is just my opinion, we didn't stay true to what we were, you know. And I just think if we would have just stuck to what we were from the very beginning, I think that we would, you know, once again, it's my opinion, I think that we really would have made a much bigger mark and probably would have been around forever, because I feel like there's plenty of sauce in the bottle with, you know, with Jeff and us as far as writing. I don't think we would have ever ran out of material, really. Mm-hmm. And I got that line from Jack Black, too, by the way. But I saw him say that about Queen or something. He goes, they never ran out of sauce. There was always plenty of sauce in the bottle.
No way. No,
I thought that was a good line. But you know, so, I mean, I think that's what happened. I think that you just got to stay true to what you are, and I don't think we did. We were changing, you know, we were just changing, just trying. We were desperate, man. We saw so many bands get record deals, and then you see them on MTV in 4 or 5 months, you know, and it was killing us. It was like, you know, it was killing us, you know, and that, you know, that's just how that was. I mean, I remember seeing Poison come in their very first day. They came in, they were from Pennsylvania or whatever, at the Troubadour, Doug Weston's Troubadour, and here they are, and I see these guys come in, and they, hey, man, come check out our band. We're going to be playing Thursday night, you know, whatever, Brad or whoever. We watch them, and I'm literally like going, they are fucking horrible. This band is awful. They're you know, it was so they're pop. They're so poppy, right?
Yeah.
And they're not horrible. But I mean, musically, we were just like, we thought we were so much better. But next thing I know, here they are. They're getting signed. They're on Enigma. They're freaking on all over MTV. And we're just like, you just don't even know what to do with yourself. You're like, what are we doing wrong? How did this happen?
So on Lost Boys, you guys do the Lost Boys album, and you get on Atlantic, you get on MTV, so things are starting to go in your favor, right?
Well, I mean, it was at the end of that era. So, right. So realistically, from the day, so I got the record deal because it was my record deal. I was the one that started the band. People say, "Oh yeah, Jeff put that band together." Jeff wasn't even in the band. I called Jeff in because the guitar player I had in the studio was not cutting it. I knew Jeff. Jeff was in Armored Saint. I go, "Jeff, can you come in and I need you to, I'll sing. I'm going to sing." I literally sang all those leads and all that stuff out. I would sing to him and how I wanted this and how I wanted that. And of course he did his thing, but I mean, that was my trip 100%. There was a couple of songs that we had, put together maybe in Odin or in the past. Well, yeah. So yeah, basically we get the record deal, make the record, which I was not happy with. From day one, I wanted to fire the producer. I was like, oh my God, this is a nightmare, and that's another story. And then, and even the selection of songs, because there were songs that like the publishing companies really liked, but the players weren't good enough to play them. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, it's just like I did my demos with Danny, the guitar player from Darling Cruel, and the drummer from Salty Dog, and the bass player from Faster Pussycat. So when I did my demo to get the deals, I had some really good players, but when I put my band together, they were, they weren't the greatest players, so I was like kind of limited on the tunes I could put on the record. So that was kind of frustrating. Looking back now, I should have just used all studio cats, and then got the players when the record was done. But anyway, so once the record gets done, shoot the video, but now all this new music's happening. The Nirvana, the Soundgarden, they're that style, and it's coming on MTV, and it's basically the end of that era. They, I think they played us on, Headbangers Ball, and there was some other random places that got played, and then the next thing I know, they drop us. They drop me. They pretty much won't even talk to me, and they're done with me. And that was kind of the end of that whole thing. It didn't last very long. Went to New York and did some shows locally, and played a gig in New York, and it was over. It was the end of it for me, anyways. I mean, there was some bands that I think were still doing it, but it really died out. And it's I was friends with Janie Lane, and one thing he said, and there's an interview of him, you could watch it on YouTube, and he talks about how everybody was doing those ballads, and it's like it wasn't what we were. We were all kind of metalers, Yep. We all were making metal tunes, and then it was, next thing you know, it was just every band. It was just like, right? It was ballad after ballad after ballad after ballad, and I just think people kind of were over it. It was like, I don't know what you thought about that. They were, not that there weren't some really great ballads, but it's like, I want to hear a metal record,
Yeah, those are the tunes that I usually don't care for. but I got to say, Janie Lane, I mean, he's done some pretty killer ones. So, but most of them I don't care for ballads. No.
He was such a great songwriter, man. I felt with my cousin, he had some serious demons, Janie, and he just could not fight the alcoholism. I mean, we played Rocklahoma with them, and they were headlining, and he had just been sober, and then Janie St. Jane, I think the guy from Black and Blue, Janie
he replaced him. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he replaced him, but then he was there with Black and Blue, and they almost thought that he was going to have to come and sing that night. And then after that, I think they went to Vegas, and I think that's on YouTube. He just couldn't remember the words, but he couldn't stop drinking, man. He just couldn't do it. And what a great person. What a dude, had such a huge heart, and what a great musician and a great songwriter. So that was tragedy, but it happens to a lot of people in this business, man. Like I always say, these people that you got to pay the devil his dues, man. A lot, as horrible as it sounds, and I'm sure a lot of musicians can relate to it. You just look at all the bands and all the band members lost, or all the tragedy that follows that,
Yeah.
So, not to get weird, but
no,
I think there's some truth to it. I think, people can't live, they're successful and then they're not successful. They don't know how to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it truly is. They're millionaires and now they don't have a pot to piss in. They don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the classic thing that you always see, this is so weird because I just said this to somebody that I work with today, is that if you have some kind of issue that you don't rectify, right, money will not correct the issue, right? I think it will just perpetuate it. You know what I mean? So if you don't correct this thing that's wrong, and that's why so many rock stars, like you said, OD, kill themselves, whoever, it doesn't matter, if actors, whoever, if there's something wrong, it's got to be corrected. Money is not going to correct it. Fame is not going to correct it. So
no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Well, hey, we got off on a tangent. I wanted to go back to the Lost Boys here. Okay.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So, well, first of all, I just got to say that Crying Out, amazing song, love it.
All right.
And there's a couple things that strike me they're just different about this album, and it's some of your vocals are a lot different, and maybe this is something you're going to touch on you weren't happy with some of the production things, but like when I listen to Lonely Man and Cool Me Down, those are two, for example. I mean, you almost sound like a heavy metal Louis Armstrong at some times. Am I crazy or what?
So what's trip is, like, I was experimenting at that time with Louis Armstrong and singing these, like, I was scatting. I actually did some demos, like, just scatting, and I was really, like, I was trying to just find myself, because I'm like, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? And I had so many different songs, and once again, it was song selection. It was like, it was kind of limited on what songs I could put on that record. And, that's why I redid Lonely Man. Like, if you listen to the new record, it's Pops' song. That's my vision of it. More of like, I don't know if you've listened to it.
I did. Yep, I've listened to the new one.
So that's kind of how I wanted to be. Now, why I went that way, I guess because I could, and I was just like, and once again, there's people that dug it. There's people that couldn't stand it. They're just like, why did he do that? And, why I guess I did it because I could do it. And I'm an artist, and I was experimenting, and it was just a different sound that I like. And, that's kind of, it's David Lee Roth too. It's very David Lee Roth and Jim Dandy, it's a lot of, that old blues, and I'm into the old blues, and, I still scat. That's really how a lot of times how I'll come up with melodies is just that, gotta live and bottom, whatever. They're not
it's
words
cool, man. I like
but
it.
There's some kind of melody happening, and then you go back and listen, and then you could add the words to it. But I've always, that's just that was just me, hopefully I didn't piss off too many people, and it's what it is. And I'm sure if I would have went more straightforward rock and done more of, like, a lot of the Crying Out kind of stuff all the way through it, it probably maybe would have got a little better, more likes, I guess. I don't know.
It's sad that it got grouped in with all that, like the hair metal, because I think it's kind of an eclectic record. You know what I mean? It's a little all over the place, but in a good way.
Well, yeah, I know people always said that about me. You're kind of all over the place. Even this new record, they're like all the songs are kind of just all over. It's not, but it's just it's what it is. It's just what it is.
So when it comes to Lost Boys, like, this thing's out of print and it's not on Spotify. I mean, do we think it'll ever get out there in circulation?
No, it is now. It's on now. Warner Brothers. I just got a statement from Warner Brothers. It's on. It should be on Spotify, and I know it's on the YouTube. And the Warner Brothers released it.
Oh, good.
So
okay,
good. So it's on there now. It's on Spotify for sure. So you can type it in now. It should be on there. I've seen it on there, but that was just in the last 6 months. So I actually just got a statement from them, that I still owe money. So that's always nice. They they'll never recoup it, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Well, hey man, it's been a great conversation. What do you want to say to all your fans in closing here?
If anybody's listening, go check out YouTube and give me some likes on YouTube. I'm actually working on Same Old Day Right Now video. I'm going to release that, and maybe play some acoustic gigs around town. And if you want to buy a CD, go to eBay. They're on eBay. I don't know if people still have CD players, but yeah, whatever. It's out there. I'm doing it, and I'll probably release something maybe at the end of the year. But now I think I'm just going to do EPs. You just do 3-song EPs, I hear. So that's probably what I'll do from now on. Maybe someday Odin will play again. I don't know.
Awesome. Well, hey, man, thanks for talking with me.
Hey, thank you for your time, and thank you for thinking of me, man. Having me on, I appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Have a good night.
All right. Hey, you too, my man. Bye.
Wow, that was a great interview with Randy O. Now, Metal Mike, we have to talk about this matchup between Axl Rose and Vince Neil on the 80's Glam Metal Beatdown. So you, your brothers, and myself, we worked very hard to make a fun video, and the whole outcome was just based on a Twitter poll. And guess what? I get blocked by Vince. Wow, I mean, this is pretty insane. First Gene Simmons and now Vince Neil? Everyone that follows me knows I've never said a negative thing about either guy. Now, this could be done by the people that run their accounts, or maybe they were getting too many notifications, and I got caught in the crossfire. I don't know. Well, I was definitely not blocked when the video was posted because I tagged them in it, and then after that, I was. But you know what? Kiss, Motley Crue, still my favorite bands, and I'll still promote them on my site. So, guess what? We're going to do it again. It's going to be Paul Stanley versus Dee Snider. So look for Twitter. You'll be able to vote on the outcome, and we will do it again. I promise this one will be more elaborate than the last one. So, everybody, stay healthy, stay safe, stay indoors. Watch past episodes of the 80's Glam Metalcast. Take care of yourselves. Rock on!